Alright, so, I've played a game recently called The Captain. I recommend it, but it is a bit inconsistent. Some parts of it are annoying, the combat is bad, and it's a bit difficult to predict what do you actually need and how to do certain things. But the story is interesting, there's plenty of little adventures on the way, and choices which are sometimes meaningful, sometimes feel forced. Still, it's mostly good in my opinion. Oh, and it's a point and click. I didn't really see that coming from the way it was presented, so that's a thing to keep in mind, in case you don't like those. So what it's about? Space Captain. He's a middle-aged guy in space. He comes to a galaxy like his boarding spot on the hunt for fuel cells. Planet after planet he searches, discovering bizarre new creatures, both friendly and not. These are the spectacular adventures of Space Captain and his brave space crew in space. Yeah, it's not like a show, but I just had to use a quote. It does fit anyway. So what did I like? The small story is on the way. I will admit what the overall save the Earth thing is just a bit meh. But scouring the planet, salvaging resources, saving sick people, stealing relics on a resort, working with a crime syndicate, so on and so forth, all of that is fun and cool. You never really could tell what the next planet is gonna be about. Honestly, the first few planets do a bit of a disservice to the rest of the game. They are a bit too serious and dramatic. The latest 60% or so of the game are a bit more lighthearted. I just prefer that and think it would have made for a better opening scene if people got some funny stuff before it gets so serious. Falls of civilizations, Alien, the movie Alien, secret science facilities. I really like that stuff though. I mean, seriously, I would kill for a game like this, but instead of having this clunky combat system and a time limit, instead have it just be more like a space trader game. You go around, just like this, solving problems on the planets, but you also get to trade and deliver goods, like Caravaner 2. I just want more games to have that kind of economy system. I love trading stuff and exploring, That is always great, but here is just the exploration, no trading at all. Second, I liked the branching pathing. Sometimes it doesn't hit the mark, but the important thing to keep in mind is that whatever choice you make, whatever result you get, the game notices that and shows it. There are cards to display whatever you've just done, and so you can come back and try something else. For example, at one point you land on a medieval planet. On it, a family takes care of you while you have amnesia, air quotes. So you can either look for mysteries of a place, deeper understanding of a religion, and whatever did the husband and the father of a family do, or you can decide to help the family and depart after getting the corrupt governor arrested. It's two completely different storylines depending on the choices. I don't know why they were separated though. It's a bit clunky, but it was the best example of a branching. There's a lot of good here with the bad. So, what did I dislike? The puzzles sometimes make no sense, like that one I mentioned above. It is never explained what you can't actually do, both storylines at once. So the puzzle of the nighttime was unavailable to me. Why? Well, gameplay reasons, but the point is that it's not communicated to the player well. Same deal with a monster in the lab. You get two campaigns from the stasis, and you get a very, very obvious choice. One goes away. But it feels like there should be some sort of third choice. You even get a line, "I will try to figure this out on my own," or something like that. But I didn't find anything of the sort anywhere, so I just went with a blue guy and sacrificed the talkative one. It's often the problem, game just has some stuff happen which isn't obvious whenever you actually get a choice or not. And also sometimes you gotta be a dick. For example, getting a lazy janitor fired. He seems okay, not really reliable in any way, but doesn't seem deserving of this. And yet you just gotta do it. A bit mean-spirited sometimes. Also, I've mentioned combat. It's not really necessary, but it's also kind of is. So to get to Earth you have to get through the outer perimeter. It's right at the end, so you have plenty of time to prepare. Your option is to either fight the guys in the gate or pay 3 star fragments. To get star fragments, you have to fight much more difficult enemies, sacrifice spare fuel cells, or do something else I honestly didn't discover yet. Might involve different choices. Now the point of all of this was that you basically don't have to do it, aside from that one fight. Still, it's there, and I have to comment, it's similar to Halcyon 6, or Sunny, or Disciples, or, well, I guess Final Fantasy. Turn-based combat without movement. You get this annoying stress bar, which is actually instant loss if it's 100%, and a pretty small health bar, so it's surprisingly unforgiving. I tried it for a bit, but eventually got annoyed and just cheated infinite rockets. That dealt with everything well enough. And lastly, I'd complain about the time limit. Now the thing I have to say is that I hate time limits. It doesn't matter how generous I just hate time limits in games. Because I love taking my time. Unless it's some sort of boss fight and he goes into enrage timer, I'm strongly against the time limits. And this game is focused on it. There are events which happen depending on how late it is. I guess I can just spoil it, it's not exactly a twist. Outposts fall. Outposts surrounding the Earth. They have a shield disruptors and eventually the energy goes out. I was too late and the outer outpost died, with the player's wife in it. There were cutscenes to show it, but well, it's pixelated sprites which have less character than SNES level graphics. So I had no idea what the hell was that even about. Needless to say, it was awfully told, confusing, messy, and unnecessary. Game would have benefited from just having a linear story when it comes to the main storyline. Like most games, take Skyrim for example. You go around and collect all the bare asses for months while Alduin just, well, he'll just chill and wait for you. That's what I would have preferred here. It doesn't fit to have this dramatic rush while you do something as silly as hunt for apples for a decrepit judge. And yes, that's an actual puzzle at one point. It's a funny one. All in all, I'd say it's a solid game with plenty of flaws, but none of those are major enough to bitch and moan about. More. I suppose the only major problem is a name. Because of how generic it is, I just couldn't find any kind of help for this game and had to follow the breadcrumbs in the Steam forums. And there, none of it was spelled out. Made me think, but I can see some people getting horribly stuck if they didn't get a point-and-click logic.